G'day guys, welcome back to Off-Road Crusader. As you can see, I've been out and had some fun. The car is filthy. There is mud on top of the rooftop tent, which is always a good sign. Yeah, we went out and did a bit of four-wheel driving on the long weekend, and unfortunately, unfortunately, the alternator has packed it in full of mud. I don't know how that happened. Definitely someone else driving through those big muddy holes. Definitely not me. Anyway, we are going to hopefully fix it. There are plenty of options for alternators for the 200 series. The cheapest ones I could find were around that sort of $450, $500 mark, which is a lot of money. There are brushless options as well. Essential 4x4 sell them, which would be an awesome option because basically stops a lot of this stuff from happening in the first place. And then you've also got like water-cooled alternators, which are completely sealed. So, but they are north of $2,000. Yeah, I'm just going to say that I don't have that sort of money at the moment. So we're going to do our best to fix it. And I couldn't really find a video showing how to do it, so I thought I'd do a video on it. So follow along if you want to learn how to do it. This is the same base alternator as the 79 series. They have a different output. The 200 series has a higher output than the VDJ 79. So there is a slight difference, but essentially physically it's the same alternator. And the part that I'm going to be repairing and hopefully cleaning and fixing is exactly the same between your 79 and your 200 series. So we're going to get started on it. All I've done so far is just taken the wheel off. Got the car on jack stands. And yeah, we're going to go through it. So come along for the ride. Let's go. So here we are in the wheel arch, obviously on the driver's side of the car. The alternator sits all behind these plastics, so we need to remove them to be able to access it. Mine's got these two plastic clips to hold the bottom on, and the top is, well, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get that off, but I'm going to start with the bottom one, just pry my tape. Hopefully, there we go. Move that out of the way. And then behind, this is the canister for the BP51, so we might undo that as well. That's got two 12mm bolts, so we'll undo that, move the canister out of the way, and that should give us lots of access to the alternator as well. So we're just removing the intake pipe from the turbos, well, from the driver's side turbo, I should say. So this just sort of hangs in the way of where you need to get to the bolts for the alternator, and it's easy enough to remove. There's obviously some hose clamps there you can do with your Phillips head screwdriver, and then there's this 12mm bolt up the top which sort of locates the whole thing, and then this whole pipe can obviously move out the way, which we're going to do now. And here we are, the alternator is out of the car. Not an easy job, especially on a hot day like today. If you want to see a really good video of how to uninstall it, check out Jaffa Adventures. I'll put a thumbnail up somewhere on the screen, and he does a really good video of how to remove this from the vehicle. There's just very limited space in there to stick a camera, but he does a very good job of showing how to do it. So go and watch his video if you want to learn more of how to do it. The main one is there's a fifth bolt. There's 5 bolts that hold this alternator in place. So it sits like so. And there are these 3 up the top. So this one's easy enough to get to. That one's difficult because there's something in the way, but you can sort of use a bit of a bendy and get around it. And this one here is just about impossible, but you just got to get creative. You shouldn't, but I used a 1/4-inch drive 12mm socket on a obviously on a ratchet, and I basically got that down so it was sitting as close as it could, and then I put a little like a steel tube through here and just used it to help to pry that bit up, because my the 12mm was a single hex. I knew it wasn't going to slip, but just trying to get it there and get it to crack it. There's very limited room, but you get there in the end. Anyway, so I got it all apart. So here's the alternator. The bit that we're concerned about is on the back. So on the back here you have your three, let's see if I can set that up. You've got this black cover, which is just plastic, and you've got these three nuts that hold it in place. So they're just like an 8mm. So they come off, your black cover then you can sort of lift off. You may need to jiggle it around this nylon cover, which moves a little bit, but you can get there. Now, that's the back of it, and the bit that we're concerned about is this bit in the center here. This is where your brushes are. So this is basically the major components of what will help the alternator to work. And when you go through lots of watery mud and silt and clay and other like fine abrasives, they can get into this part here, cause the little bits to not retract, and as such you need to pull it apart and clean it. On the 79 series, apparently you can do this without removing the alternator from the car. The 200, there's just not enough room behind it. There's another turbo in the way. And the best way I could show you as well is to pull it completely off the car. So you've just got two Phillips head screws to take the thing out. So I'll do that now. Again, they're only quite small. Lift that up, and that's what it looks like. So on the inside here, let's see if I can show you. So on the inside here, you can sort of see, it's difficult to get the light on it, but there's these little things that are poking up, and they're spring-loaded, basically carbon graphite rods. There's two of them. There's one there, there's one behind it. And what happens is when they get mud in it, these get pushed down, and they can't spring back up, and they're basically meant to push against this rotating assembly inside the alternator, this bit here, which spins with the fan belt. And if they're not contacting, then it's not going to generate any electricity. So what we need to do is basically pull this section off, clean it out, and basically make sure that these spring-loaded bits can work fine. I've just used a little bit of Inox, or you can use WD-40 or whatever, even some electrical contact cleaner, just to freshen that up and make sure everything can still move as it needs to. Once you're happy that it's clean, if you try and stick it back on, because these are spring-loaded, then they're not going to allow it to slip back over that that rotating rotating pole, I suppose you call it. So try and push that down, it's just not working. So what it has this little hole on the back here, and what you need to do with that is get a little bit of wire. You can use like a paper clip or something like that, and as you push that in, it comes in from the back, and it actually helps to hold. So I'll just get this lined up so you can see it. So you can see the wire there, and basically it pushes down on those little armatures and holds them in place. So what you need to do is, once you've cleaned and you're happy with it, put a bit of wire in, use it to hold down those spring-loaded bits, and then basically dropping it over the top. Well, we're at it, another late night in the shed. I want to get this car back on the road, and you know what? I can sleep later. I want to get this sort of done. So anyway, when I last left it, so like I said before, that's the what's the actual name for it? It's a brush holder assembly is the official name for it, and it's got these carbon filament things in there which can push down. They're spring-loaded. I've cleaned this one up, and to be honest, it still does grip onto this center sort of post just okay. But I then had a look at the part number, which is that part number there. And for that one there, you get a brand new brush holder. And once I'll pull the pin out of this one and you can see the difference in those two contacts. The newer one has much longer contacts and they're flat on the top, whereas this one's much shorter and it's rounder. Also, the spring tension on this is much stronger, so it's going to actually push on the brushes will push on that copper post much stronger, and should be a much stronger contact and be much less susceptible to get mud and dirt and stuff in there. And this brand new part, that part number there, cost me $46.60. So for all the work that it is to remove and refit this alternator, to then cheap out on $47 worth of parts as a bit of a maybe, because this alternator is genuine. This is the alternator that came with the car. It's done 124,000 Ks, and it's 6 years old. So if it's worth throwing $47 at it, then may as well. I'll keep the old one as a spare because I know it probably will still work. and for whatever reason I've got a spare if I need it. I don't know why, but I'd have one there. So I'm going to refit this brand new one. It is nice and simple. Literally put it back into place, pop your 2 screws on and then pull that pin. That allows those contacts to then spring forward and touch on this copper post, and then we're back in business. So we're going to get to reinstalling this and then pop it back in the car. I can't hear any grinding noises or any sort of lumpy, like there might be dirt in the bearings. So I'm pretty happy to fit that back in the car, so let's go. So there you go, the car is all fixed and back together again. I put the alternator back in the car, and look, it's the first time that I've really done this on this vehicle. I'm not a mechanic, so I obviously did as much research as I could beforehand, which sounds like what you're doing as well. And look, allow about 3 to 4 hours to pull the alternator out, and about an hour and a half to 2 hours to put it all back together again, if it's your first time and you're sort of figuring everything else out like I am. Obviously, if you take it to a mechanic, they'll probably only charge you 3 or 4 hours labour, whatever it may be, but they're used to doing it. I'm not. You're a DIYer just like me, so you'd probably want to know that as well. Look, it is a relatively easy and cheap and simple fix if you plan on using your 200 series off-road through mud and all the rest of it. Yeah, just knowing that this is an option to fix your problems. Look, this is definitely something you could probably do on the side of the track if you're out bush and you're really stuck. Obviously more ideal to do it in a shed or something like that, but it can be done, which is kind of a nice thing to know. So now we're ready to head back out and hopefully avoid the mud this time. I don't think I will. Yeah, it's all ready for another series of adventures, which is pretty awesome. So look, thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in supporting the channel, we do have a merch page and all the rest of it as well, so there'll be links in the description if you want to check that out. There is also a Patreon page where a select number of people do support the channel and be absolute legends and score some interesting stuff out of that as well. Yeah, hopefully we will catch you next time on Off-Road Crusader. Cheers.